Alyssa Bates' blatant favoritism disgusts fans. In the world of reality television, family dynamics often become the center of attention. The Bates family, stars of the now-cancelled reality show Bringing Up Bates, have been no exception. Among the 19 Bates children, Alyssa Bates Webster has stood out not just for her picture-perfect lifestyle and social media presence, but more recently for the growing controversy surrounding her perceived favoritism. Fans have begun to notice, and call out, what they consider to be blatant favoritism in her behavior, and the backlash has been swift and sharp. Alyssa Bates, now Alyssa Webster, is the sixth child of Gil and Kelly Jo Bates. Raised in the ultra-conservative Christian household featured on the UPtv series, she eventually married John Webster, the son of a Florida congressman. They now have 5 daughters and reside in Florida, where they run a successful YouTube channel and lifestyle brand. Alyssa's polished persona and carefully curated social media presence have made her one of the most prominent members of the Bates family online. Her Instagram feed is filled with coordinated outfits, spotless home decor, and glowing family photos. At first glance, her life appears to be the embodiment of a modern-day fairy tale. However, beneath the surface, fans are increasingly expressing concern over what they perceive to be favoritism within her family and toward certain siblings or family members. In recent months, several specific actions have ignited the conversation about Alyssa's favoritism. These include, fans began to question Alyssa's loyalty to her own family when she appeared to selectively support only certain siblings. For instance, Alyssa has been outspoken in support of her sisters Carlin and Erin, frequently appearing in their videos and promoting their businesses. Meanwhile, other siblings, like Michaela or Nathan, seem to receive little to no public acknowledgement from Alyssa. Michaela, who has faced fertility struggles for years and often shares deeply personal updates, rarely appears on Alyssa's social media. Despite Michaela's emotional openness and consistent presence in the lives of other Bates siblings, she remains notably absent in Alyssa's curated online world. Fans have pointed out the contrast between Alyssa's public celebration of Carlin's new baby and her silence during Michaela's emotional revelations. Fans have also noticed discrepancies in how Alyssa celebrates birthdays, anniversaries, and milestones. For some siblings, Alyssa posts long, heartfelt captions accompanied by multiple photos. For others, there is silence or a very short mention. A particularly controversial example occurred when Alyssa lavishly celebrated her daughter Massey's birthday with custom decorations, professional photos, and a lengthy post, while another niece or nephew's birthday came and went without a mention. These inconsistencies have been called out by followers who feel that public displays of affection seem heavily skewed. Alyssa's frequent absences from large family gatherings have also raised eyebrows. While it's understandable that living in Florida makes travel difficult, she has missed multiple key family events, only to later post photos of family outings with just a select few siblings. This gives fans the impression that she prioritizes relationships selectively, spending time only with those who align with her brand or lifestyle. Fans argue that Alyssa seems to prefer curated family moments that match her aesthetic rather than engaging in raw or less polished realities, leading to further accusations of favoritism. Social media platforms like Reddit and Instagram have become hotbeds for this growing discontent. On forums like the Bringing Up Bates subreddit, users dissect Alyssa's posts and compare them side by side to those of her siblings. The consensus among critics is that Alyssa's approach feels more performative than genuine. One Reddit user wrote, "It's so obvious she only supports Carlin and Erin because they're marketable and match her brand. Michaela and others don't fit that aesthetic, so she pretends they don't exist." Others have echoed the sentiment, accusing her of building a social media empire on the backs of select family ties while ignoring others. Even some longtime fans have voiced disappointment. Comments on her Instagram range from subtle questions, "Where's Michaela?" to more direct criticisms. Why don't you show support for all your siblings equally? Defenders speak up. However, not all fans are on the attack. A significant number of Alyssa's followers have come to her defense, arguing that it's unfair to expect someone to showcase every aspect of their family life online. Just because she doesn't post about every sibling doesn't mean she doesn't love them. One fan commented, "People are so quick to judge without knowing what's really going on behind the scenes." Supporters also point to the demands of motherhood. Alyssa has 5 young children, as a possible reason for her limited engagement with extended family. Others note that Alyssa has been honest about health struggles in the past, suggesting that her own challenges might influence her availability and energy. Another layer of complexity is Alyssa's brand. As a content creator and lifestyle influencer, her online presence is not just a personal diary, it's also a business. Critics argue that her apparent favoritism may be a calculated move. By aligning closely with Carlin and Aaron, who also have strong social media followings and businesses, Alyssa increases engagement and cross-promotion. It's a smart business strategy, but one that can come across as cold or calculating when family relationships are involved. Some fans have speculated that her decisions are less about emotional closeness and more about visual branding. Matching family photo shoots, perfectly decorated homes, and highly stylized content are all tools of the trade. If a family member doesn't fit that mold, whether due to lifestyle choices, lack of social media presence, or personal challenges, they may not be included. There's also speculation that this favoritism may be affecting the Bates family internally. The Bates clan has always portrayed a united front, but cracks have begun to show in recent years. Some siblings have started to carve out independent lives, while others, like Josie and Trace, appear to distance themselves slightly from the family brand. If favoritism is felt internally, as well as externally, it could deepen those divides. Even in large families, emotional dynamics play a major role in long-term relationships. Publicly favoring certain siblings over others, whether intentional or not, can create resentment, tension, and lasting rifts. The Alyssa favoritism controversy reflects broader questions about family, authenticity, and the pressures of social media. As more families like the Bates transition from reality TV to online influencing, the line between genuine connection and curated content becomes increasingly blurry. Fans want realness, vulnerability, and balanced representation. When they feel that someone is presenting a filtered, unfair, or shallow version of reality, especially involving loved ones, it can trigger disappointment and backlash. But it also raises the question, is it fair to expect public figures to treat every relationship equally in their content? Or does Alyssa have the right to showcase the parts of her life that she feels are most relevant or positive? For Alyssa, the path forward may involve more transparency and balance, acknowledging siblings she hasn't mentioned recently or showing behind-the-scenes moments that aren't picture-perfect could go a long way toward rebuilding trust with fans. Even a simple post showing appreciation for family members who don't have a social media presence could help ease the criticism. It's also an opportunity for growth. The criticism, while harsh, points to a real desire from fans to see a fuller, more inclusive view of the Bates family. As someone with a large platform, Alyssa has the power to reshape the narrative and foster a more supportive, genuine environment. At the same time, fans may also need to adjust their expectations. Social media is only a small slice of someone's life. While it can reflect patterns and values, it's not a complete picture. Relationships are complex, and family dynamics don't always fit neatly into Instagram captions. Alyssa Bates Webster's apparent favoritism has undoubtedly ruffled feathers among fans and sparked a wider discussion about authenticity, family loyalty, and influencer culture. Whether it's a matter of calculated branding, unconscious bias, or simple preference, the impact is the same. A growing number of followers feel alienated and disappointed. Only time will tell whether Alyssa will address the backlash or continue on her current path. But one thing is clear: when it comes to family and fandom, perception matters. And in the world of social media, every post sends a message. Bringing up Bates. Willow Balka's latest pose has fans in tears. In the world of competitive gymnastics, where every movement is measured in seconds and inches, the emotional weight behind a single pose can be immeasurable. That was precisely the case when Willow Balka, one of the most promising young talents on the U.S. gymnastics scene, stunned audiences with her latest floor routine at the recent national championships. While many athletes dazzle with gravity-defying flips and twists, it was not the difficulty of her skills that captured the hearts of fans. It was the emotion, poise, and vulnerability in a single still pose that brought people to tears. The moment came toward the end of her floor exercise, during the choreographed pause that gymnasts often use to highlight control, balance, and artistic expression. As the music swelled and the lights dimmed slightly around her, Willow struck a pose that seemed to freeze time. Her arms arched above her head like a blooming flower, her body taut yet graceful, and her face, expression caught somewhere between strength and sorrow, spoke volumes. It wasn't just a pose, it was a story. What made this moment even more powerful was the backstory that few knew until after the performance. Willow had quietly been carrying the emotional burden of losing her father, Coach Michael Balka, just months before the competition. A revered figure in the gymnastics community, Michael had trained countless elite athletes, but none closer to him than his own daughter. His passing left a void that no coach or mentor could fill, and for a while, Willow considered stepping away from the sport entirely. Instead, she chose to channel her grief into her artistry. "I wanted to honor him," Willow later told reporters. "Every step I took out there was for him. He always said that gymnastics isn't just about flipping through the air, it's about telling your story without words." The pose, now being referred to as the Willow pose by fans, was more than just a technical element, it was a tribute. The way she held herself, so poised, so powerful, yet unmistakably human, seemed to echo the very lessons her father had instilled in her throughout the years. It was a symbol of resilience, of grace under pressure, and of the enduring bond between parent and child. Social media erupted with reactions immediately after her performance. Fans flooded platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok with videos of the pose, accompanied by heartfelt messages. Even fellow gymnasts were moved by the display. Olympic medalist Aly Raisman shared a post saying, "Willow reminded us all why we love this sport. It's not just about medals and scores, it's about courage and heart." But perhaps the most touching response came from Willow's mother, who spoke briefly to reporters after the event. "She's her father's daughter," she said, voice trembling. "Michael would have been so proud, not just of the pose, but of the woman she's becoming." Behind the scenes, Willow's journey back to the mat had been anything but easy. After her father's death, she struggled with motivation, focus, and confidence. Training sessions became reminders of what she had lost, rather than what she was working toward. Coaches noticed a change, not in her ability, but in her spirit. It was only after weeks of quiet reflection and support from family, friends, and former students of her father that Willow began to see a path forward. She started incorporating elements of her father's coaching philosophy into her routines, not just technically, but emotionally. She worked closely with choreographers to ensure that every move had meaning, every gesture a memory. The final pose was something she designed herself. "I wanted it to feel like a bow," she explained, "not just to the crowd, but to my dad, to everything he taught me." The pose itself is deceptively simple. One leg extended straight behind her, the other planted firmly beneath her, arms arched overhead, fingers reaching as if trying to touch a memory, head tilted ever so slightly, eyes closed, lips parted in quiet breath. It's a pose that demands balance not just of the body, but of the soul. Judges scored the routine highly, noting its originality and emotional impact. But for Willow, the real reward came from the audience, the strangers who felt seen through her performance, the grieving parents who found solace in her strength, and the young gymnasts who now look up to her not just for her skill, but for her heart. Her coach, Jessica Tran, who stepped in after Michael's passing, described the evolution in Willow as nothing short of remarkable. She stopped trying to prove something to everyone else, Tran said. She started performing for herself and for her dad. That's when everything changed. In the days following the competition, Willow has become something of an icon, not just in gymnastic circles, but in broader conversations about grief, healing, and the power of sport to transcend athletics. Sports psychologists have praised her ability to channel personal trauma into public triumph, calling it a masterclass in emotional resilience. Mental health advocates have used her story to illustrate how sports can serve as a safe space for processing difficult emotions, and parents across the country have shared how her performance inspired conversations with their children about perseverance and legacy. "It's amazing that people connected with it," she said in a recent interview. "But honestly, I just wanted to make my dad proud. Everything else is kind of extra." Still, she's embraced the role of inspiration, especially for younger athletes who may be facing their own struggles. "To any kid out there going through something hard," she said, "just remember, you can carry that pain with you, but you don't have to let it hold you down. You can turn it into something beautiful." As the season continues, Willow remains focused on her training and upcoming competitions. There are international qualifiers on the horizon, and whispers of Olympic potential begin to follow her name once again. But for now, she says, she's content knowing that wherever her father is, he's watching. And if there's one thing we've learned from the Willow pose, it's that sometimes the most powerful moments in life aren't the ones that come with a score or a medal, but the ones that leave us speechless, teary-eyed, and deeply moved. Because in that single, silent pose, Willow Balka didn't just show us her talent.